Hey my loves, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. So in today's video I'll be showing you guys how to make this simple herb infused hair butter at home. So for today you're gonna be needing some cloves, some dried hibiscus, some peppermint leaves, rosemary and moringa leaves. So you want to ensure that your leaves are washed and dried properly. Now we're moving on to the first step, which is the infusion process. Now this is where you're going to combine your carrier oil with your herbs. So I'm going to quickly add the herbs to the container. You want to ensure that your container is clean and dry as well, because you'll be working with oil and you know water and oil does not mix. So you're going to add all the dried leaves to the container, add your oil of choice, and you're going to cover this. Now the ideal time for infusion is typically anywhere between 14 to 21 days. However, for this video I'll only be doing the infusion process for 4 days. But if you want to infuse herbs in your oil, this is the best way to do it. You could also go about using heat to speed up the process, but as you know, heat breaks down nutrients and we want to retain as much nutrients as possible. Now it's been 4 days since the infusion process and I've noted several changes. Firstly, the color of the oil got a little bit deeper. It moved from a golden color to a slightly green color. Also, the scent of the mixture changed as well, which is an indication that infusion took place and the nutrients in the herbs are now in the oil. Now at this stage you want to separate the herbs from the oil because we're only going to be using the oil for the butter. But if you wanted, you could go ahead and blend your herbs in the oil and then separate. I don't really think that makes a difference, but I've seen persons do that as well, so I'm just throwing that option out as well. Now we're going to be moving on to step 2, which is the melting phase. Now step 2 is where you're going to be adding your butter. I'm using African shea butter, Taha 100% natural. So this part of the process is where you add your butter and any other oils that you want to add, because at the end the only things that you're going to add is your essential oil, vitamin E oil, and any other little biotin or nutrients that you want to add. So now I'm simply going to take a tablespoon. I think this is more than a tablespoon, but I did not really do any measurements. I just worked with my mind and my ancestors. So I just took about, I would say that's about 2 tablespoons of shea butter, add it to the oil, after which I'm going to place this in a hot water bath. So the oil that I decided to use for this was Jamaican black castor oil, of course, and can you look at my hands? They're just shaking like crazy. Now this is the amount that I initially added, but at the end I ended up using everything, and I'll explain at the end of the video why I ended up using all of the oil. Now you want to get some hot boiling water and you're going to place that in a container, and you're going to place your butter and oil into that container and allow it to melt. Now I want to point out that because the shea butter is extremely hard, the process is going to be a little bit time consuming. So if you don't want to go this route because you don't have that much time, because this took me about 10 minutes for everything to melt, you can go ahead and do this on the stove, which I think is a bit more effective and that's a bit more fast paced. But once everything has melted, the next process is the next step in the process is to take your container that you're going to do the whisking in, and you're just going to pour your oil into it. So you want to ensure that you get rid of all the water off the container, because you don't want any water to get into this mixture because it might cause it to go bad. So you're going to add your oil to a container, after which you're going to put your cling wrap on, and you're going to put this into the freezer for about 15 to 20 minutes just for it to solidify a bit, because we want it to be in that state when we start the mixing. So it's been approximately 15 minutes and I got it at this state. So you don't want it to be too tough because it's going to be very challenging when you try to whisk it. So you want to ensure that it's a little bit soft but a little bit hard at the same time. And you're just going to take your spatula or your spoon and to make sure that you kind of break it up and get everything in the middle. After which you're going to take either your whisk, your hand whisk, or a machine, and you're going to go ahead and whisk and whisk and whisk and whisk until you get that desired consistency. Now, the reason why I ended up using the entire castor oil that I had was because I realized that the consistency of the butter started to get a little bit hard, which is an indication that there was too much butter in it. So I ended up adding the rest of the castor oil along with some more of the herb infused oil, and I kept on whisking and whisking and whisking. I think the process took me about 10 to 15 minutes to achieve the desired consistency that I want. So you want to ensure that your butter is not too tough, and you want to ensure that it's not too watery either. So you want to ensure that it's in that sweet spot right in between. And once you're finished with whisking, the next step would be just to simply ensure that your container is clean and dry and to store your butter. But before the video ends, I want to point out that this is a hair butter. It is not a conditioner, and hence there is no liquid in it or any gel. Of course, if I wanted, I could go about adding those as well, but there is a difference between a leave-in conditioner and a leave-in butter. A butter is more oil-based and conditioners are more water-based. And because there is no water in this or gels, then there is no need for me to add any preservatives. Now, of course, you can go ahead and modify this recipe to your liking and your specific or desired hair goals. Again, as I mentioned earlier, you could go ahead and add some essential oil, some vitamin E oil, some biotin, and vitamins that would actually help give this butter an extra kick. But that's pretty much it for today's video, and I do hope that you guys enjoy this, and I do hope that you would give this recipe a try. But until next time, bye my loves.